Okay, hashtag getting sand in your butthole, hashtag just Tatooine things.
Start your sublight engines. It's time for Roop Alp's Pod Race, a queer Star Wars podcast. Welcome back to another week of chaos. I'm Jess. My pronouns are they, them. You can find me on TikTok and Twitter at Kawaii Jessio. And my gender this week is 3 pit droids in a trench coat.
So true, bestie.
As they should.
My name is Noah. My pronouns are he, him. You can find me on social media at The Jewish Jedi. And my gender this week is Djarin, excommunicated for showing hole.
No!
I was really proud of that. I'm sorry.
Here's my problem with that, is that he did not just show one hole. He showed like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes. He showed a lot of holes.
Mel, my brain did go to the same place. I was like, I mean, technically he did.
He did show a hole. Hi, I'm Mel. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on social media at Melvin Culpa. And my gender this week is Axwolves is stuck in a saw trap.
Someone free him.
The beginning of this episode looked like the beginning of Saw, and I was like, oh my god, we're gonna see Axwolves. It's gonna be great. He's been stuck in this saw trap for who knows how long. And then Djarin showed up, and I was like, okay, whatever.
Mel, I did go, hey, you know what? There might be a chance that Axe Wolves might show up. I hope Mel is happy.
As soon as we saw that it was gonna be about Din and about the Mandalorian, I was like, the chance that Axe Wolves is gonna be in this episode has actually gone up like exponentially, and then he wasn't, but there's still time.
Give the fans what they want.
That's what everyone's been asking for.
Everyone on the internet has been saying, where is Axwolves?
My name is Ollie. I use any pronouns. You can find me on social media at Ollie Fresh. It's Fresh with a PH. And my gender this week, Leia Organa comes out in support of the death penalty.
What?
Because in the episode, they were like, oh, Moff Gideon's
when they're
been
talking
sent-
about Moff Gideon.
Yeah, they're like, Moff Gideon's been sent off to the New Republic. They'll be sent to death. And I'm like, the idea, I know that Leia's not like the person who's making the calls, but the idea of her being like, you
The
die.
chair.
She's an electric chair. You're done.
Hi, I'm Claudia. My pronouns are she, her. You can find me on social media at Kaludia Says, Kaludia Says. My gender this week is influencer of the galaxy, Ram Jamaram.
So true, bestie.
I know.
Yeah.
That the first time that somebody's saying that's wizard was in the Phantom Menace, like in time. Yes, in release order. However, according to the canon, those of us who are intellectuals and read the High Republic and read the specifically the books for children and books and comics for children know that it is one Ram Jamaram, Jedi Padawan, who just made up this funky little word and was like, you know what, that's really wizard. And then every little kid around him was like, oh, we're gonna start saying that because it sounds neat. And then he did a little baking competition and he made it popular. And the pipeline from him doing that and then Din Djarin embracing his inner child and then saying, that's wizard, that is the most serotonin I have ever received.
Full disclosure, I did watch this episode, and like I know a lot of people were very hyped to see Din Djarin, but I was like, first of all, I'm already upset because Axwolves is not here. And then at the end of the episode, he said wizard, and that is what I freaked out about. I did not give a fuck. I was like, okay, Din Djarin's here. Oh, he got hurted by his lightsaber he doesn't know how to use. He said wizard, and I lost my shit.
Also, speaking of the lightsaber thing, I believe this is the first time, at least in canon, that we've seen somebody actually, like, people talk about, like, oh, if you're not trained, you could, like, fuck yourself up with a lightsaber, of someone actually hurting themselves with a lightsaber that they don't know how to use. Like, this is the first time we've actually seen it. And, God, a relatable king!
Okay, not the fucking, a Christmas story-ification of Din Djarin. You'll shoot your eye out. You'll give yourself a permanent, very bad burn on your leg.
You'll cut your leg off.
Well, he didn't cut it off.
Well, he could have.
He cut other people in half, which had me like shook.
Yeah, so
he said no survivors.
Yeah, I think that was very sexy of him to be like, listen, I'm not really doing a lot of bounty hunting. I am doing this to get some information, but I'm really fucking tired, so I guess. And he just was like, I'm 0 to 60. And I admire that. And at first it was like, oh no, Din Djarin, no. Bestie, no. you shouldn't, like, you don't have to be brutal. And then we found out that they were, like, you know, suppressing the wages of their workers. And I was like, go off, my working class king.
I guess I was just wondering where Sweet Girl was the entire episode.
Fuck the Filoni-verse.
For those listening at home, if you didn't already know, when we are mentioning a very popular Din Djarin X-Reader fanfiction that was it was part of popularizing the term of endearment "sweet girl" for some reason in Mandalorian fandom, and it's become a whole thing. For those of you who are not plugged into the mainframe, shout out, and sometimes...
And maybe don't plug yourself into that.
Yeah, if you're not plugged into the main... Wait, quickly, if you're plugged into the mainframe, if you're not plugged into the mainframe, how did you find out about this podcast?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, hey, listen, we listen to your comments, we see your things when we took our little survey, we know that sometimes we make references that people don't understand. I am trying to be accessible here.
Anyways, how did we feel about this episode?
I was talking to friend of the pod, Julia from Star Wars English class, about this, is that I feel like Mandalore is a planet that I keep getting told to care about, and I'm not really sure why. And I think that there's a lot of really interesting things about Mandalore to care about. And I think in Legends, there's a lot of stuff that like gives you a reason to care about Mandalore. But in canon, I'm like, there's a lot of really interesting stuff with Mandalore, but it's just not something that, aside from really loving some of the characters from there, I don't have that much of a vested interest to see, like, let's get back to Mandalore. I'm interested to see where they take it, but I'm just not like, oh my God, yes, like, let's go. What's going on? Because I'm like, I feel like there are so many planets in the Mandalore system. I'm like, you guys can just go somewhere else. But that being said, I thought the episode was really good. This is maybe one of the first real episodes, second only to like the Trials of the Darksaber arc with Sabine, that has actually made me be like, oh, maybe I care about what's going on Mandalore. Maybe I'd like to see more of it. I really liked it. This was a solid episode, but I have the same complaint that I think a lot of people have. Where was Boba Fett? I mean, I know where he was, but I would have at least liked to have like seen him, or even if at the end he was like, when Fennec's like, Boba wants you to come work for him. He's like, Boba wants me to work for him. And then Boba walks in and is like, hey guys, like, I don't know. I just would have liked to see him in any capacity.
What you were saying about it's hard almost to care as much about Mandalore, it's like with the Jedi, when we are introduced to the Jedi in A New Hope, whatever, we are introduced to them in absentia, basically, kind of like the Mandalorians. Like, there are people who have died out and we get to know like one of them. And then we have the prequels, whatever, and we get to see them, not in their prime, but we get to see a lot of them or whatever. We get to basically see what was lost. With Mandalore, we've never really gotten to see what was lost. We get to see all the people who have suffered, but we don't really get to see. That's because, you know, Mandalore wasn't included, I guess, like, before the Empire or whatever. Like, obviously, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, they're doing a lot of, like, filling in blanks frantically, whatever, which is true. So I love moments like this for us to be able to finally see what was lost, because there's a lot of like talking about it and us not knowing. My feelings are the same as everybody else, where I was like, I have never had so much fun in my goddamn life. Holy shit, I do love Star Wars. And then at the end I went, wait, where the fuck was Boba? Hold on. Which is a part of, I think, my general thesis about this show, and frankly, not just this show, but a lot of television at this point, which is that it's very hard to judge things nowadays episode by episode, because they are clearly telling a larger story, and it's hard for me to judge it until the end. And with the Book of Boba Fett, I feel more charitable than I think other people do, and you guys can disagree with me, because like for me, it's like it is a literal book and these are chapters. They've told us this, and I think a flaw actually in how Disney has chosen to do this is that, like, Dave and John have said the Book of Boba Fett is supposed to be like another season of The Mandalorian, and it fits perfectly in that, and this was the episode to show us that very much. But it is being billed and made or whatever as like a separate, almost spin-off show, even though it's not, which those of us who have consumed the rest of Star Wars television know it all connects together in that way. But it does really hammer in the fact of, like, like most television, of like, I just wish that The Mandalorian was a much longer show and that this was one Clone Wars arc amongst a much longer show. So that's why I feel a little more charitable to that criticism. And I'd love to know, a lot of people compared it to the Bad Batch arc where we didn't see the Bad Batch that much and we saw Hera a lot. So maybe in the next episode, it'll be kind of like a two-parter in that sense. But yeah, it felt like one chapter, and while Boba was not there, I think all the things that we liked about the last episode, talking about community, talking about who Boba is becoming, his relationship with Fennec, it was almost like I felt those values almost in absentia for Boba. They were showing Din going through the same thing to show, like, you know, that's what being Mandalorian is about, and that's why they're showing us what being Mandalorian is about, and that's what Boba is about. They're trying to make us put the pieces together, basically. And then, of course, when they were like, hey, remember the Mythosaur thing? Anyway, back to the rest of the lore, and you're like, oh, wait, that's Boba. So I felt more charitable than others, but it also did still annoy me.
I am going to be a little bit less charitable, because here's my thing. If I pretend that this episode had nothing to do with the show called The Book of Boba Fett, I would be in love with it, because I really did like I just dropped something. Anyway, I liked what it had to say, and I liked the story it had to tell, and like, particularly as a Jewish person, and the Mandalorians are not any more Jewish coded than any other fictional diaspora people, but they share a lot of similarities that I do resonate with. So like, I get not caring about them as a group of people because but like, I think they're very fun, and I like learning about their shit. But that said, this episode didn't even feel like like in the same universe as the Book of Boba Fett, like not even remotely. I feel like part of the reason is that my problem with the show has always been at this point that it doesn't know what kind of tone it wants to go for, and it doesn't know what it wants to be. Because this episode was tonally nothing like the rest of Book of Boba Fett. It was just an episode of The Mandalorian, which is fine. Love that. But like, why now? And why here? And also, why wasn't Boba Fett in this entire episode?
No, I get it. And I think the thing for me is I like the idea of Mandalorians, and I like Mandalorian characters, I think are really cool. I think it's just, I'm trying to figure out what their ethos is. And I think that that's a big part of it, is like, what does it mean to be Mandalorian? You have the armorer who has wildly different thoughts than someone like Bo-Katan or even Sabine or Din. And I think that that's really interesting. And I think it's interesting to see this culture. But I think for me, it's more like Mandalore was doomed from when we first saw it in the Clone Wars. Like, there was nothing that could have been done to save Mandalore at that point. So it is kind of a situation where I'm like, okay, like that's cool. And I'm interested to learn more about it. But like, I get it. Like, this is my thing. I think from an intellectual level, I get it. And as a Star Wars fan, I get it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is cool. But like, as if I was a casual watcher at this point, we're about to be 3 seasons into The Mandalorian, and we're almost an entire season into Book of Boba Fett, who is a show about a character who is, you know, we're trying to figure out his relationship to being a Mandalorian. And I just feel like we don't know that much about why the planet of Mandalore is important to their culture. And I would love to know, but I'm like, you have Mandalorians on Concord Dawn, you have Mandalorians on all of these other planets, which again, I think it's a part of their culture. But I just really like to see, like to have an episode where someone is like, here's what happened on Mandalore, and here's why we need it to be a people, and we can't just go to other planets in the system. Like, that is me as a viewer, not me as like a Star Wars fan who does know like there's a lot more to it because I've paid so much attention. But it's just something I think about for like a casual fan.
I have many thoughts on this episode, and I'm also not gonna be as positive as Claudia was trying to be. And like, don't get me wrong, I like The Mandalorian. I like Din Djarin. He's like in my top 5 Star Wars characters, like my faves. And The Mandalorian is what made me a Star Wars fan. But I did not come to this show to watch for Din Djarin. I came for Boba and Fennec. And I've seen some people like saying what like Claudia said, like, oh yeah, they always meant for this to kind of be like a spinoff for The Mandalorian. I've seen some people also being like, oh yeah, it really is like a book, because especially in a lot of the Star Wars books where there's multiple POV characters, so sometimes chapters will focus on different characters. But I don't know, with those, I feel like those stories that they're telling in these different chapters with different POV characters do still help further the plot of like the main story that that specific book is trying to tell. And I don't know if this episode was helping to further the story for Boba Fett. It was helping to further the story for Din Djarin's little tale for the Mandalorian, which that's great and all. And maybe I could be wrong because there's still 2 more episodes, but it just didn't feel like the Book of Boba Fett. Like what Noah said, it was like tonally different. The pacing was also different. It felt, yeah, just like The Mandalorian, which was great when I think about The Mandalorian, because like I said, I like The Mandalorian. So I was really bothered by that.
I think it's watching this episode was really kind of a bizarre viewing experience, because by the end of it, and I was like, this is just an episode about Din. Cool. But like the thing about the whole concept of like different Mandalorian identity is that we've never really even heard Boba address his different Mandalorian identity. So like, and that also has not ever been a focal point or a theme of this show. If it had been, I might be more open to the interpretation that this episode was to provide contending views on their like shared culture and shared history, which I'd be down for. But like the show itself has never textually told us that that's even a thing Boba remotely cares about. Like we know that he associates himself with Mandalorian identity because he got his dad's armor back and was like, this does belong to me. But outside of that, he and Din and the armor and Paz and every other Mandalorian we've ever met have very different motivations, which is good. But it's never really seemed to matter to Boba that much. So for this episode to spend its entire runtime focusing on Din's relationship to Mandalorian culture, when that's never really been a thing, like I hate this sentence, but I do feel it's still true. It literally just felt like they dropped an episode of The Mandalorian instead of an episode of Book of Boba Fett. Because if you cut out the last 5 minutes of this when Fennec shows up, this has 0 through lines and connective tissue to the rest of the story that's being told. Not even like so much as a mention of what's going on Tatooine, which I like what Jess was saying about like chapters in a book of this style normally like further the main plot. If you cut out the last 5 minutes of this episode, that doesn't even happen. Like this is just about Din. And I felt like I like it in isolation, but as part of a show, I would not have enjoyed it as much.
Yeah, not to get pedantic, I do think that there is one mention though of like the Pikes being on Tatooine during the episode, because the Jawas too. I'm getting hand signaled too. Anyways, point is they are mentioned and like
just one. I watched it earlier.
Okay.
It's in the same conversation.
I meant there's 2 there's 2 things that tie it to Boba, not specifically to the Pike Syndicate.
Okay.
Sorry.
My bad. Anyways, point is, like there is like the smallest connections, but it's in the same way that like the High Republic will talk about something, like mention the Mandalorians, and it's like, oh, so they're here. What are they doing? Who the fuck knows? I completely agree that like that is a lot of my feelings surrounding this episode. And I think it could be interesting that they are setting up some themes for the finale of this episode. It has just occurred to me the idea of Boba using the Darksaber and being able to move with it is something very cool and very interesting to me.
That is very cool.
Wait, Boba for Mandalore?
Boba uses the Darksaber, like he's like, wait. Oh, like it's hard?
Like I'm just thinking about like the parallels of like Mace Windu and the lightsaber, and then him being like, actually, fuck you guys.
The one person who we will talk about Bo-Katan. The one person who Bo-Katan would want to have the saber less than Din Djarin is Boba Fett.
Okay,
proposition. Why doesn't Fennec Shand have the Darksaber?
Period.
What you were saying about Boba and the Darksaber. So earlier, Noah, you said that like there hasn't been any textual evidence that this makes any sense. So, like, and I
think Claudia means like connective tissue, not textual evidence.
Are you talking about the story or Boba's relationship to being a Mandalorian?
Oh, both. Hold on. Just give me a second. I also have my issues with this, so I hate to be like the defender person, so please don't think that I'm being that person. Maybe their writing purpose for doing this and it didn't come across correctly was to do that, was to say, Boba doesn't consider himself a Mandalorian. But in the previous episode, he says, I want to build a community that is based on solidarity and loyalty. And then in this episode, they go, here are the most Mandalorian people fucking possible. And they say straight to the camera, being a Mandalorian is about loyalty and solidarity. And then Din is like, questioned his Mandalorianness, and then immediately is like, no, I am a Mandalorian. And then goes, and somebody that I help no matter what is Boba Fett. And I had been making little jokes on Twitter or whatever about, like, who's gonna have the Darksaber or whatever. And everyone was talking about the parallels between Djarin and Sabine with the Trials of the Darksaber. And the biggest parallel that I could see is Din Djarin giving the Darksaber to Boba Fett. That is what's
not
going
Bo
to happen.
parallels.
Exactly.
The true leader of Mandalore's name starts with B-O, and everyone was like, oh, Bo-Katan, and it's like, no, wrong.
Exactly. When you said, like, oh, like, it would be the one person that Bo-Katan would hate for that, whatever, that's why they mentioned, like, Bo-Katan was a cautionary tale, whatever, because she specifically has shit to say about Boba, and she specifically is introduced having shit to say, undermining his Mandalorianness, so for the end of that to be, it would work very much, okay, for her. I'm just saying, it makes a lot of sense, and I think we'll have to see. And I think this is a symptom of there's just not enough episodes or whatever, and so we get nervous when we're watching these sort of things, whatever. But I do think that the whole point of this was to remind us, like, hey, this is what Mandalorians are. And Boba Fett is a Mandalorian. Did you know? Like, and that's what he's building for himself. I mentioned earlier that they were like, oh, what were the references to the rest of, if the Boba Fett was not there? The Mythosaur thing was the biggest thing. Was like, when we were talking about, like, Mandalorian lore in The Mandalorian, we were talking about the Darksaber. When we were talking about Mandalorian lore, yeah, we talked a little bit about the Darksaber because we gotta rehash the same thing 15 times in the Book of Boba Fett, but, like, the thing they mentioned is, like, oh yeah, the mythical Mythosaur. Somebody else also brought up, like, the myth of the Mythosaur is that, like, somebody can ride this great thing. And what does Boba Fett do? I mean, his whole thing is like, I've ridden beasts twice that size. That's also a reference to, like, the Boba Fett cartoon or whatever. But anyway,
like the Rancor.
The Rancor, whatever. But anyways, I'm connecting the dots. Also, emotionally, they say that you can only wield the Darksaber if you are focused or at peace with yourself or all this other stuff. And kind of the point of this show is Boba Fett realizing, hey, I need to be a different person, whatever, and he's slowly becoming that. So for him to then, like, be able to wield the Darksaber because he's, like, with himself, I think that would be very funky, fresh, whatever. And Din Djarin, and this was very much to show, like, Din Djarin physically can't even fucking use it. You know who can? Boba Fett, who's also just a brick house of a man who could do it. Anyways, Boba Fett for Mandalore, I think that'd be very funky fresh. However, I will say, it's making me defend something that I also disagree with, but watching this show and other Star Wars shows in general, this happens a lot. I would say I felt like this way when Rebels was coming out and we were analyzing it, like, episode by episode, even though Rebels is a masterpiece and I love it so much, looking back on it. And even The Mandalorian to some extent, but especially watching this show is kind of like watching the prequels. And I don't know if this was due to the production or what it is, but it's very much like it needed some script doctoring, almost, of, like, there's so much good stuff here. The directing is phenomenal. I mean, somebody pointed out that the whole scene where he brings the head with the bounty is one shot from the elevator up. It's a, like, 2-minute long one shot. There's so much good stuff here. However, it needs serious script doctoring. So and everybody knows that the prequels are basically just George did things and nobody told him no. That's exactly how this series has felt so far.
I don't want to hate on the episode because, like I said, like, yeah, there is still 2 episodes left. So yeah, maybe this is actually tying in stuff for the show, and I'm just upset because there's no Boba Fett in the show that's supposed to be about Boba Fett.
Yeah, I agree that, like, for the show about Boba Fett to jump over to Din Djarin, it felt weird, and that is why I would like to pitch my show, which it's called The Mandalorian, and then in parentheses, so The Mandalorians, and it would be like 24 episodes, and we'd be able to jump around in a much more, like, normal TV way. between these stories. And then we'd also not only just get to get Boba and Din, but also people like Bo and Sabine and even like the Armorer, just to like have these different senses of Mandalorian identity, and to make it feel a little bit more cohesive. I'm getting maybe like some Game of Thrones vibes, except for the last season not being dog shit? Question mark.
So true, bestie. And I feel like that does tie into like the way that they've chosen to produce this show, like the shortness of it. It really hinders it, because also I feel like I'd be having a lot more fun overall if I weren't so concerned about the complete like lack of time. Which is just it's weird. It's weird, and I think it makes viewing it as a whole, like, maybe the last 2 episodes will be really good, but my worry is like it's a lot of ground to cover in 2 episodes, and I wonder why it was made so short in the first place. That said, there was a moment that I really liked in this episode, and because here's my thing, I actually never want Din Djarin to take his helmet off again ever. And there's a scene. I have a reason for that I will get to, but there's a scene where basically when the armorer is like, "Hey, did you take off your helmet?" And he's like, "I might have." Like, he freaks out about it, but then he also immediately is like, "How can I atone for that? How can I like become what I am supposed to be doing?" And that was really refreshing for me, because Fern, also of Star Wars English class fame, made videos way back when the Mandalorian season 2 was coming out about how like the allegory of Din as an orthodox religious person who is moving away from orthodoxy because it's constrictive was weird and like not a great narrative. And I really appreciated that they were like, yes, this is the orthodox version of Mandalorian identity, but like it's still his. It's still important enough to him to practice. So a lot of people are like, is he going to take his helmet off in front of Boba? And I'm like, I hope he doesn't take his helmet off in front of anybody. Like, it's his level of practice, and that's fine. But I'm also like, maybe let's not do the narrative of like now you can see the real me now that I'm free of my religious confines.
Not the Netflix hijabiification.
No, literally, that's what it feels like. And I'm like, oh God, can we not?
No, I feel that. And like, I feel like so many people, and especially people who are of Christian faith, who are like talking about like religious trauma and the Mandalorian culture, which like I am more than happy that you have that, you see that as that way, but like what the text has presented us is not necessarily that. And so it is kind of projection. Once again, you do as you like. It's not my job to police you. Kill the cop in your head. But it's that when the text is telling you that it is a relationship with like an orthodox religion.
The only thing I might have wanted there was for him to, I don't know, to say or to be addressed in some way that like for him to be like, I always remember there was all these debates about like people being like, oh, did he break his creed or whatever? And the whole point was like he didn't. He did it to save his child. He did it to save his child, and he didn't break his creed or whatever, and that he is still very much following that, and that's still very much important to him. And I feel like that probably would have been the only thing that I wish that would have been addressed. That he'd be like, yeah, I mean, I did, but to complete my quest, and it was to fulfill a very something that is also very important to my culture and my religion and whatever. However, I still did something that I didn't love, and I would still want to atone for it, whatever. Like, I would have wanted some addressing for that, but they were like, so anyway, we gotta move on, because we spent 10 minutes fighting past Vizsla because Jon Favreau loves his fanfiction moment.
When you mentioned, like, Christians talking about religious trauma and universally applying it, laws for Jewish people, what?
Jedi Order moment. Anyways, continue.
Oh, literally! But, like, I don't know how to say this in a more delicate way, but like laws for Jewish people are a gift that we received, not like a thing we're forced to live with. So it's fine. And also, Claudia, you mentioned that he didn't break his creed because he did it in service of a higher purpose, which just is like some fun Jewish lore moment. The only times that you're permitted to break the laws of anything in the Torah is to save a life, or to facilitate the saving of someone else's life, which funnily enough does mean that vampires are exempt from eating kosher. But I find that interesting because at least in my religion, we're allowed to disobey God if it means saving someone else. And I find that interesting that like his 2 moments of disobedience are in service of saving his son. And I like that.
Not to bring the vibe down again. I get people who want to like be positive, but there is such a thing as also like toxic positivity, and some people being like, oh yeah, at least I don't hate Star Wars like anything because it's Star Wars, so like I love all of it, and you people who are criticizing it are like toxic. Or you can criticize things you like because you want to see those things do better because you like them and they're important to you. I wanted to bring that up because there are some people who are saying like everyone is complaining so much about the Book of Boba Fett, which there's a difference between like some shitty the fandom menace being like, oh, these stupid little bikes, or oh, Boba Fett isn't a shitty person anymore. There's a difference between those kind of complaints and people who are like, this could have been done better, but I still enjoy the show a lot. I just wanted to bring that up because, yeah, like I said, I've seen some people trying to be like, only say nice things. I'm just like, that is toxic positivity, and no offense, but I think sometimes you're shittier than some of the other shitty people.
No, I agree completely. And I think that was something that I thought too, because I really liked this episode as an episode. I think there was a lot of really cool stuff. I loved seeing Peli again. That was so cool. Amy Sedaris is a gem. Like every episode that has Peli in it is just so fun. And I loved her, and I loved all of the deep, like, here's all this other stuff, and here's a lot of references and
Easter eggs.
What's also cool is I like when they put references and Easter eggs in that don't just feel like, hey, look, we know that this other thing happened. Because there's so many times where it's like that was shoehorned in. Like, and I don't mind fan service, but like I feel like this was done really well. But it is just like, for the few complaints I do have, I'm like, we need to be able to foster a space where we can have that conversation. And I think the problem is there are so many people who aren't good faith arguers that we need to like, it's hard to find a space where you can have that conversation because you never know who is going to be arguing in good faith. Like, I really like Book of Boba Fett. I've got some issues and I'm happy to talk about them, but overall it's pretty fun. But I do think like there's a lot of stuff that happened in this episode where I was like, I feel bad for people who are watching The Mandalorian, who've just watched The Mandalorian and probably might skip over Book of Boba Fett, then go to watch the next season of The Mandalorian and are like, okay, wait.
Yeah, I had the same thought. Or like, what if you didn't watch The Mandalorian and you get to this and you're like, what's happening here?
Yeah,
I don't understand.
I'm a big enthusiast like of being a casual fan. It's unfortunately not something I've ever been able to do, but if you're a casual fan, God bless you. I wish you the best, but I feel bad for you.
Actually, I will. So this is why I have a friend who's a cat. Like, I like check in. I have a friend who's a casual.
I have friends who are casual fans.
No, I do it so like I check in.
That was a joke, by the way. I was like being like you know, like,
yeah,
I have
know.
friends who are casual. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
We got
but,
it.
Like, I like to check in with her to see like she's like seen maybe like 2 Star Wars movies, and she like just likes The Mandalorian, and she's just watching this, and I tell her all the little Easter eggs, whatever, and she purposely is like, I'm just here to have a good time, and so I check in with her of like, well, how does she feel about it? What are her thoughts or whatever? And it's been very interesting to see. On a positive note, the people who are casual fans, I mean, they've been loving this shit. They've been loving this shit from the jump. They've been having, at least the ones I've talked to. There are some who like, I'm like, get over yourself. Who like don't understand having fun. Not from a like toxic fan perspective, but who just like, I'm like, why are you watching Star Wars then? You could just watch literally anything else if you want what you are wanting. But it's interesting to talk to people who are casual fans about it, and I think that I will say that they have made it clear enough that like if you like this, then you'll like this, of like that you should watch this, and it does fit in, and I think maybe we can thank the MCU-ification for this, of like they introduced Boba Fett as a character in The Mandalorian, so then people were like, I want to see Boba Fett now. The MCU-ification.
I need our listeners to know that when Claudia said that, like, we all made faces.
I know. I'm sorry, but
oh my god, I can't wait for the new Disney Plus Star Wars show, Hawkeye 2, but it's Hawkeye, but he has a lightsaber this time.
Oh, please don't do
But no, this also falls into like Disney. It's just capitalism again. They're just like, you should, if you don't understand, maybe you should watch our other show, The Mandalorian, our current breadwinner.
This is another thing too. Sorry to interrupt. This is another thing too that gets me. Again, I will say again, I really liked this episode, but it does feel like they were like, we don't trust this extremely popular character to carry his own show. So we need to throw the Mandalorian in there to make sure people watch it, which just feels so rude. So it's almost like they were like, I know this is not what happened, but it's almost like when you know you can make money regardless of what you do, it gives you permission to put on a mediocre show. I don't think Book of Boba Fett is mediocre, but it's something that I noticed, and it's something that I'm like, for future projects, I really hope that doesn't happen. Because like I said, I don't think that is Book of Boba Fett. But it does feel funny that it's like they don't have faith in their own material when it's like, I generally enjoy Book of Boba Fett.
Them throwing Din Djarin here brings me to another thing that has been bothering me. I am such a downer this episode. I'm so sorry. But people already like using Din Djarin to prove that Boba Fett is like shitty and that Din and the Mandalorian are better. And it's really upsetting to me. Because, like I said, I like Din Djarin, I like The Mandalorian, but, like, some of the people I've been seeing comments from are making me hate that Din Djarin has appeared in this show, because they're just like, oh yeah, Din Djarin saved the Book of Boba Fett, because the Book of Boba Fett has been a trash fire so far, but now Din's here to save the fucking show, and it's just like, I will kill you.
I agree with that. I also think that, and this is not a disease of Star Wars fans in particular, but it is a disease that I have noticed more recently in terms of like people who watch things. They don't know how to enjoy it without it being a point of comparison. So it can't just be good or bad in its own right, because like, to be clear, there's, as much as I enjoy this show, there's a lot about it that just doesn't really work for me, and that's fine. But nobody seems to be able to watch it without comparing it to every other Star Wars IP on the market, which is just annoying, but also disingenuous. I see that as a problem. And like, as much as I love Din here, I have to agree with Jess and with Ollie that it kind of feels like they threw him in here to be like, hey, just remember, you can watch our other properties if you didn't like this one. And it's like, why did you do that?
Everything feels like a big ad for everything else, so nothing feels like it has a conclusive story. Like, this is how I feel every time. That's how I feel about watching any fucking thing that's been Marvel. Spent all this time being like, hey, watch our other thing, and being like, we need to find a way to make it a teaser for something else, not how do we make this have a conclusive and fulfilling ending. And sometimes they can do both, but not all the time, and they know which one they are prioritizing.
Not to always say the same thing over and over again, is the content mill, the Google, Facebook duopoly, whatever, the way the CinemaSinsification of talking about things. Like, we have trained ourselves to talk about things in comparison, because that literally gets SEO clicks, because saying X compares to Y gets you more search terms. It literally has rewired the way that we talk about things. That is also why, like I said, like earlier in our discussion, I try to be more charitable as well, because I know that like we have been rewired of talking about these kinds of things. It's very hard, and I think that you were talking about how everything feels like a big ad, and I will say I have been consuming even more of the Star Wars canon than you guys have, and I will say that this episode I really liked, and I was having a lot of trouble when I've been reading the comics a lot, because for a long time it has felt we are getting a lot of stories that are fleshing out different time periods, and so it's kind of like almost a never-ending story. Sometimes we know the end of it, sometimes we know whatever. We never have any actual like conclusion, even if it's a partial conclusion. I think that's why a lot of people liked the end of the Mandalorian season 2 of The Mandalorian. Like, when you watch the Star Wars movies, yes, something else is going to happen in the next one or whatever, but like, you have a moment of victory. Like, not to say that everything needs to have a happy ending or anything like that, but there are moments of conclusion. There are moments
has an ending.
There is an ending. There is a point to all this. And I think because everything must be content forever, then it goes, well, we don't know. Maybe it'll go on forever. Who knows? And you can never feel anything about that. So it's hard. I think it's a double-edged sword, and it's the double-edged sword of loving anything nowadays. So
yeah, so I do need to bring up that earlier in this conversation, Noah texted me the entire script to Solo, a Star Wars story. Fuck you. Anyways, let's move on to the next
If
point.
I could defend myself, I did text
no.
Ollie and say, should I send Mel the entire Solo story?
And I said no. Why would you do that?
They said, and I quote, yes, all in one text message. I will not be slandered on the TV.
I don't know what you're talking about. I will provide screenshots at a later date.
It's just so hurtful when certain people say certain things.
I can't wait to enter my Laura Lee apology video era. There's something else I wanted to talk about that I think is very funny. I want to talk about some actual important canon information that we got from this episode. Jawas are hairy? Because Peli, girl,
You're
first
kind of
of
a
all,
freak.
she's an icon. Also, I know I'm on the prowl. I'm looking for crumbs. Peli never said any gendered pronoun for this Jawa that she was with. I'm just saying,
You're so right.
Peli with her non-binary Jawa little partner. Period.
Okay, and I would just like to say that Pelimoto is one link in the world's longest chain to get me to have Cobb Vanth enter the show for some reason. And I don't know what the story reason would be, but I want that little gay motherfucker to show up.
Cobb Vanth / Axe Woves.
Yes!
Okay, I can't with that.
I have to write that. I'm being serious. I have to write that.
That is very funny, but consider.
This better be good.
Okay,
is
so
it gonna be Fen Rao?
No, it's not gonna be Fen Rao.
Get Fen Rao away from my gay little cowboy.
How dare get your gay little cowboy away from Fen
Fen
Rao,
Rao,
motherfucker.
period. Anyways, point of this fucking thing was at the end of Book of Boba Fett, in the same way that Mandalorian season 2 had that like post-credit scene. I know we were just talking about this. The Darksaber is sitting on top of the Rancor pit. A hooded figure enters Boba's palace and picks up the Darksaber and ignites it. And we can see, lit up only by the Darksaber's blade, Cobb Vanth. and then it's called The Scripture of Cobb Vanth, and then it fades to black.
The script.
This is the only show that I will ever watch. Okay, premise, hear me out on this. Because the Mandalorians are so obsessed with the Darksaber, we see Cobb pick it up, and then in the post-credit scene, he brings it back to Axe Wolf.
His loving boyfriend.
Oh my god,
His
Axe
loving
Wolves enters a
boyfriend, and then they rule
polycule.
Mandalore together.
Wait, no, Axe Wolves enters a polycule with Cobb Vanth and his little Weequay boyfriend from the bar for the
Period.
Mandalorian.
Oh, true bestie.
Oh my god, we've unlocked it, guys. I know if it's in the pot or not, I don't know, having a conversation about capitalism. Capitalism breeds innovation only in this case.
Only
I'm
for
just
Cobb
saying-
Vanth.
I'm just saying, hear me out on this. The show is like, it's just a sitcom of
Wait,
the three of them hanging out.
what?
Capitalism breeds Cobb Vanth.
Get out!
I'm gonna
Guess you
Get
can call me
out. I love it.
capitalism.
I love
Claudia put them
ABO.
in a breakout room.
Did anyone hear the amazing joke I just said, or was it being talked over? I said, guess you can call me capitalism.
Anyways, I would like to briefly talk about Fennec Shand. I know we were all saying I wasn't enough Boba or whatever. I liked how last episode we got a little bit of development for Fennec. So this episode being like, oh damn, we don't have any Fennec. I'm like, we saw her in the Bad Batch, and we see her in the Mandalorian, and we see her here, and we still know jack shit about her. I mean, okay, I'm gonna enter my, like, white feminist mode or whatever, but, like, when do women get get to have any stories about them. Like, I love Din Djarin and I love Boba Fett so much, and I would die for them so much, but also sometimes the Princess Leia-ification of Fennec Shand is so frustrating, of being like, she's the coolest, baddest bitch around, she's amazing, everybody loves her, we also know jack fucking shit about her, and we will not be spending any time on her, and I'm tired.
The only new piece of information we have learned about Fennec Shand in this show is that she is from the Mid-Rim. That is it. That is like saying you are from North America somewhere. Like, what?
Can we talk about Bo-Katan?
Yeah, let's talk
No,
about Bo-Katan.
she wasn't even there.
Well, no, okay.
They
So
mentioned her,
we're allowed
though.
to talk about Boba because he wasn't there, but we're not allowed to talk about Bo-Katan.
This is not very...
We don't talk about Bo-Katan.
This is not very Yas and Sly. No,
I
something
am thinking about her, like, did they all just drop off Din, and then she said, I don't want to speak to you right now. I
literally-
don't want to look at
But
you.
what did
I don't want to be
happen?
around
Okay,
you.
this is
There's
my theory.
no way that she let him out of her sight with the Darksaber.
That is exactly why. This is what I think happened. Mandalorian season 2 ends. Luke and Grogu walk away. Bo is like, okay, bitch, what the fuck? Comes up to Din, is like, what the fuck? Like, what is happening here? And then Yakety Sax begins to play, and Fennec and Din book it for the fire spray ship. Get in, and then get the fuck off of that fucking ship.
Oh my god.
Thank you.
I also think here's one thing that I would like to talk about, especially considering that woman. This is something Claudia alluded to earlier. An important part of the episode that I think is really funny is Paz Vizsla being like, yeah, the armor being like, it's pretty fucked up that the Kryze sisters tried to rule by nepotism, and then Paz
And then
Vizsla's like,
Paz
Paz
Vizsla
Vizsla's
is like,
but maybe I should have the Darksaber because it was my birthright. And then also, okay, I want to also give big shout out to Sophie at Fulcrum021 on TikTok for being like, hey, I don't know if the armor has seen Rebels, because I think one of the points is the armor is being kind of hypocritical. Bo-Katan does not want to take the Darksaber from Sabine. Sabine and all the other Mandalorians had to be like, please take the Darksaber because no one else wants to lead. And she's like, shit, okay. But I think, like I said earlier, the point is the Mandalore was doomed to fail. Like, Mandalore was going to fail no matter who was in charge. And I say this as someone who is, I'm a Bo-Katan apologist because she's done a lot wrong, but I'm also a Satine Kryze enjoyer because I think people give her way too much shit, because the big thing is like, oh, Mandalore has been decimated because of everything. And then there's the whole like, oh, well, she tried to erase their culture. I'm like, they have all been at war. Like, I'm not saying that Satine is like the perfect ruler, but I don't think anyone could have been the perfect ruler for Mandalore. But I also think it's really important to say, like, the reason that she took such extreme measures was because the planet was borderline unlivable because of the war that had happened. Like, I don't know if her method was maybe 100% the right way, but I don't think that there was a right way to fix it. And I think that this is a very similar thing that we are going to see more. Like, that argument that we had about Satine is going to grow tenfold with Bo-Katan as she is more integrated and as we get into more like Mandalorian stuff, because I think that the thesis of this, at least what I'm seeing from canon information, is that Mandalore cannot be saved. It is about the people, and it's going to be a very like Thor Ragnarok, Asgard is not a place, it's a people. I think that that has to be the thesis, at least I'm hoping it is, because that makes the most sense to me, at least thematically. And I think we are going to see a lot of people being like, well, Bo-Katan's like stupid or whatever, but I'm like, I was going somewhere with this, but I guess my point is that I think, like, obviously she has her flaws, obviously Satine Kryze had flaws, but people talk about them as if they are the ones who ruined Mandalore, when in reality Mandalore could not be saved. So the point is not now who can save Mandalore, it's what does it mean to be a Mandalorian.
the Mandalorians as a whole destroyed Mandalore because they were always fighting, because they could not decide how to be Mandalorians.
I will also say, people were also being really, I think, mean and uncharitable to the armorer. Again, a lot of people projecting their religious trauma onto that, whatever. I also, like, the armorer does say, she was like, we were sequestered on Concordia or Concord Dawn.
It is Concordia, sorry.
Thank you. She says we were sequestered, and I'm like, she is operating from information that she has gotten from others, and other people were like, oh, well, her helmet, she's a Mandalorian, whatever. I'm like, remember, they are the children of the Watch. They are not the Watch themselves. And I was like, she's operating on other people's information. She wasn't there, whatever. So, I said this on Twitter, Julia has said this as well, is like, we have to remember that in Star Wars, just like everything else, characters are characters. They operate on the information that they have and their own biases and viewpoints. It's not just a lore drop, which is really nice. I love when exposition actually also has character to it, instead of just being, hello, I'm going to give you exposition, of that she's going by what she knows. And so, yeah, there's this view of the Kreeses because they came from the Watch, who didn't like the Kreeses, even though one of them was in it briefly. And, and Sabine isn't even mentioned because they were, I believe, sequestered at that point, and all that kind of stuff. Although I did keep getting mad, being like, oh, so we're gonna mention everybody else by name, but we're not gonna mention Sabine Wren. I hate it, but I think it made a lot of sense, and I think we should be charitable to the armor as well. And I am also a Satine Kryze enjoyer, and that I do like that comparison to Thor Ragnarok, and I also think that is also a reason why they really emphasized all this messaging, and also that, like, Mandalore was doomed to fail in this episode because once again, Boba will be the Mandalore, and being a Mandalorian is about a people and not a place. So, and he's creating things and stuff. I'm just saying, I've connected the dots.
Okay, my final thoughts on the episode, because I do want to be done talking about it. Overall, I liked it. If it had been an episode of The Mandalorian, it felt really disjointed as an episode of the Book of Boba Fett. And I have no idea where they're going to be going for the last 2 episodes. But I am also a lot more excited to see where it's headed than I was a couple episodes ago. The only other thing that I feel the need to mention is that canonically, Din Djarin does have Luke Skywalker's home address. And I did find that extremely funny because
he's going to show up in his mother's ship.
I mean, yeah, he's showing up in a Camry, and his mom drove a Camry, but like, they're not the same ship, right?
No, I mean, to be fair, they were commissioned by the Queen of Naboo. So like,
yeah, they were more. They're like special edition only for the Queen.
Camrys.
So like, yeah. Okay, it's like if your dad was the president and they drove up in like one of the cars that's in like the president's.
Luke wouldn't know anything about that, would he?
I'm not saying he would know, but it's poetic. It's poetic cinema.
It's just interesting. Also, Leia, at some point in a comic, Leia does go to that hangar on Naboo, and like she feels something in the Force. She like feels like Maul's presence.
Maul's
in the Force.
rancid vibes still.
She does feel Maul's rancid vibes, whatever. I'm just saying that Luke could also feel some vibes, is all I'm saying. Anyways, go on.
That was all. I just I found that very funny because we never really got confirmation of like if they stayed in contact at all after Grogu got taken away on the baby ship. And it was fun. I was glad that Din was like, I'm gonna go see my son, and I was like, so you know where he is, how to reach him, and how to contact him. That's interesting. Also, the way that Fennec like came into Pelly's little shop was the best scene in that entire episode, hands down. That was fantastic.
Pelly being like, don't worry, I put the alarm system on, we're okay. And then Fennec's just like, teehee, I'm in here.
I did enjoy the parkourification of Fennec Shand. There's something very personal to me about it. I enjoyed this episode. I think a lot of critiques of it are valid, but I thought it was overall very fun. Was a bummer we didn't see Bober. I barely know her.
I could quit. Bo Burnham.
Not Bo Burnham. That is my new fan cast for Boba Fett. Bo fucking Burnham. Anyways, I'm very curious to see where this show is going to pan out, and it feels weird saying that 5 episodes in. But I do feel like we somewhat have a direction now. The thing with Book of Boba Fett is that I walked in with absolutely no expectations. So like, it has just been a roller coaster for me of like, I am loving this. And then episode 3 kicking me in the literal spine down a flight of stairs. But we've been going up since then, and so I'm hoping for some payoff.
This is another episode of like, oh, it did, like, when Din Djarin, like, had his little moment of, like, being his inner child, like, I felt like I had my moment of my inner child. Like, I was like, oh, Star Wars can have joy, and that's really nice. And sometimes you need a win, because, boy, there's a lot of L's lately, and I know that everyone's always like, oh, but I want it to be more gritty or whatever. And that's also been the nice part about the show before, like the nice little moments, like, you know, Boba with the Rancor and stuff like that. If I were to change anything about this episode, Din Djarin's big character trait, other than being a relatable mess, is that he is a father. And the one thing that we have not gotten to for Boba Fett is his baggage with his father. It was clear that they included this to more talk about Boba Fett's Mandalorian identity, but I feel like if you were going to include Din Djarin, this might be the time to investigate, you know, the parallels with his, like, they're like, okay, we're going to have some flashbacks to Kamino, and that's it. Granted, I know some people are tired of the whole flashback thing, and I'm like, it doesn't necessarily have to be back to Tank, or there's various ways it could be done, or whatever, but I feel like, if some script doctoring were to occur, I would kind of want, if we were to go back and forth with Boba, or that kind of thing, you know, how is Fennec finding out about his background with his father? Like, how is he starting to open up or address that kind of stuff? You know, and contrasting that with Din Djarin, who is now struggling being separated from his son, just like how Boba struggled being separated from his father, I think would have worked really well narratively, and connected really well. But that's just because I would like clones to be addressed. That's all. I very much liked it, and I will also say, when The Mandalorian was airing, I want to say season 1, but I think this also happened in season 2, a lot of people were like, okay, so when are we gonna get to the point what's happening for a while? Like, there was a very similar criticism. So I'm trying to see it from both sides in that sort of way. Last week was fun, and this week was fun, and I was reminded that I am attracted to men by this episode.
Yeah, I liked the episode. It was fun, funky, fresh. Again, I loved Din Djarin. Wish we could have seen more Boba. Wish they would have, like, just made it half, like, about Din Djarin, and then them meeting up, and, like, we didn't need post Vizsla. Sorry, I mean Paz Vizsla. We didn't need the Paz Din fight. I don't think we could have had some Boba time. But overall, it was fun, funky, fresh. I did, like, scream, cry, shit, fart about Din Djarin, because it's just like, there he is. I forgot how much I loved you because I've been distracted by so many other things, but seeing you again made me happy. My final critique of this episode, which brings me into CloneWatch, is that there was no clones, not even Boba, in this episode.
Damn, it's a -1.
The one good thing is that there were pit droids, and I am a pit droid enjoyer. Let's go, pit droids.
Welcome to a little segment called eBay Adventure, wherein one of us goes through Star Wars eBay and plays a little game. It's like American Pickers meets, I don't know, y'all know American Pickers?
The Price is Right. It's The Price is Right.
You'll get it as we play. First up, we have ultra rare number 1 of 50,000 Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith challenge coin.
Is that Bullseye from Target?
It looks like Bullseye from Target.
I was like, Wishbone?
That is not a Jack Russell Terrier.
I know,
No,
but
that is
stupid.
No, because it looks like a bull terrier, which is the mascot for Target.
So I don't quite understand what a challenge coin is. It might be something cops have. I don't know.
I was like, isn't that a thing the NYPD uses?
I don't know, but this is the description.
What is this for?
This is the description. You are bidding on number 00001 coin minted from the 50,000 made for the Star Wars Episode 3 movie premiere on May 19th, 2005. This coin is highly, highly sought after collectible. It comes complete with a signed certificate of authenticity from the minting company. Thank you for looking.
Is this not just an NFT?
It literally is a physical NFT.
I think the word you're thinking for is an item.
A fungible token.
It's just a token. I feel like this one's either going to be insanely high or like stupid low. Like I'm going to lowball it. Just like if we're going by like Price is Right rules, we're closest without going over. I'm going to say $10.
$50.
Do we know what metal this is actually made out of?
No.
So, a challenge coin, according to Wikipedia, is a small coin or medallion bearing an organization's insignia or emblem and carried by the organization's members. So, it's just like a little commemorative coin. That's all it is. The military uses them a lot, and so do cops.
Okay, well, how much do you think this is?
Okay, I'm like really, really bad at these. So I'm gonna try better. I'm gonna try and do this a little bit better. It looks nice, and also I don't know if it's actually worth this, but I feel like you could trick people into selling it at a pretty high price. So I'm gonna say, I don't know, like $100 maybe. Because you could plausibly fool someone who doesn't know any better into buying something that looks really nice into buying that for a lot of money. So I'm gonna say like $100.
I don't know, maybe 75.
I'm changing my answer to 500.
Okay, final answers, everyone?
Yep.
Are you sure? You are all wildly, 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 wildly off.
Does that mean I win?
Yes, because the listing price, $31,997.
What the fuck? I'm gonna...
Who the fuck is paying this much money for a challenge coin?
I win because I had the most?
No, I won because I said 500. I changed my answer.
Oh.
Maybe this is a stupid question, but why is a challenge coin worth any sum of money greater than $70?
Well, here's the great thing also.
You could buy a car with that.
Here's the great thing. It also shipping is $4.80.
So
That's
I
pretty
paid
reasonable.
$31,000 for this challenge coin that I'm imagining is like this.
Actually, it would be $32,000 plus shipping.
Also, I'm imagining this is like the size of your hand.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
like
a little bit smaller.
Yeah, like the palm of your hand, maybe at the most. Are you ready for the next item? As you all know, I love Axe Woves. This is 2020 Topps Star Wars Living Set, the Red Series, Artist Auto, number 195 Axe Woves, 4/5.
So this is the Axe Woves Topps card.
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe it's signed.
Oh, that changed. The actor who plays Axe Woves, I love him.
$100.
I will say $45.95.
I'm gonna say $44.95.
I will say that this is the amount I would pay for this item.
Okay, in that case,
Okay,
my
is that
answer
like
is like
$5?
20 something. 20 at maximum.
For Axe Woves?
My favorite Star Wars character, Axe Woves.
Oh my god, no, Fen.
Cobb Vanth's canonical husband.
So you're like, Mel said sorry to Bells out of Axe Woves is my new favorite.
I guess 30.
Has everyone put their answers in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, no, I'm gonna drop down to 10.
Okay, y'all are haters. This is $499.
Holy cow.
So
Claudia wins, I guess. But she was off by like $300.
Okay,
Wow.
I'm sorry. It's just because you were like, this is the amount that I'm willing to pay for this, and I'm like, that can't be that much money.
I know, I'm
I mean,
kind of
that was
worried.
that was a /J. I wouldn't actually spend more than
Mel
you
artificially
tricked
drove
us.
up the price.
So you tricked Jess is what you're saying.
I mean, I tricked all of you, I thought, but then none of you fell for it.
Yeah, because you didn't say it until after all of us had already guessed.
Hey, well,
Yeah,
I'm
you didn't
sorry.
say /J, so I was just like, what's a reasonable price for a card that anyone would be willing to pay?
Here's the problem. You all know that I famously don't really give a fuck about Star Wars merch, so...
Yeah, that's why I
a
dropped
problem.
my price.
I'm sorry.
Because it's
I'm
just
sorry. I tricked
Mel
you.
wouldn't spend a lot of money on something like this.
Sorry. I would for him. Anyways, are you
Save
ready?
your tears.
Save your tears. All right, next item. It's relevant to this episode. This is top Star Wars Living Set 2 card number 111 and number 112, Pelimato and Yaddle.
Our two besties.
Oh my god, they are them together.
I
That's
like
iconic.
that the picture
Two pretty best
that you've
friends.
shown us, they're looking at each other
Oh my
like
God.
lovingly.
It's because it's Grogu's mom and then and Grogu's babysitter. They're dating.
I would just like to
No.
say that it is an insult that these are even priced because these are priceless items.
I was just gonna
okay?
say, there's few prices I wouldn't pay for these.
For the Palimoto Tops card, I'll give an arm for that. I'll give a
Yeah.
leg.
And you know what? I'll give an arm for Yaddle, so it's great. We can both be missing an arm together.
Yeah, I'll say. Well, they're not signed, so I'm gonna
Is
go
it the price of them together?
Yes.
I love you cannot separate them.
$300.
I'll say $450.
In the sense of seriousness, I want to say like at most $100. That's my like at max it would be that.
I'm gonna say 200. 100 for each of them.
It is $199.77. So congratulations,
Wow,
Noah.
My first win.
And you're still we're in a 3-way tie to win.
Jesus
so
Christ.
congratulations.
Also because all of us have won so far by being not really close, just the least far.
The least wrong. Are you ready for this next item?
Let's do it.
This is called Mandalorian Child Grogu Platinum Silicone 1:1 ratio figure.
Can I say that my first thought was, oh no, it's gonna be a reborn baby?
It literally is like a reborn baby though.
No, not the Renesmeification of Grogu.
I'm so sorry.
He does look
It
kind of
doesn't-
like a gremlin.
Funny that you mentioned that, Noah. Let me read the description of this item. Created by Nicholas J. Brown of Lorecraft Customs, he created a few of these at the initial onset of The Mandalorian. While they aren't exact, his creation has a unique visual blend of Grogu along with Gizmo. You can find a time-lapse video of the creation on his website. Priced at half of what was originally paid. Super heavy, and the entire body made of platinum silicone. Custom painted and clothed along with wood base and peg. Sold as is. Thanks for looking.
I'm gonna say it was going for $1,200. I think now it is going for $650.
I will go a little lower and well, okay. Because here's the thing, this is a high skill item to make, which does make it a lot pricier. So I'm tempted to say 5 something. I'm going a little lower than Ollie because I don't think it's like that expensive. But yeah, I'm cool saying like 500 minimum.
5,000.
Wow, that's a lot.
Damn.
I think because it is like, is it like life size too? Like Grogu size? Like,
Yes.
then I'm gonna go with 1,000.
Okay. Any final adjustments? Okay. So my favorite part, first of all, of this little guy is that he's looking up at God. But my second favorite thing is that he is priced at $799.99.
I got it. I was like, oh my god, I was like $100 off.
Yeah, you're
Good
pretty
for me.
pretty good. All right, last item of the evening. This is young Anakin Skywalker, Star Wars Episode 1, life-size statue, J.C. Penney, 1999, Yoda.
Where is Yoda quickly?
Great question. I don't know why Yoda
Yeah, I was
is
gonna be
in the
like,
title.
that
There
is not-
spiritually.
This I already know. It's gonna be it's gonna be $10,000.
Jesus. No. I'm saying
Okay.
$1,000.
I'm gonna say wait, Ollie, what did you say?
I said 10,000.
Frankly, I am comfortable saying 12.
Oh, have big spender.
Ooh. Time to pull out my horrible Price is Right skills.
The face that Jess is making right now is truly
I'm
comical.
like staring at this little fucker. Hold on.
Okay, also I'm gonna read the description for you all. This is in excellent condition, with the original tags from JCPenney still on it. This was displayed at and given away by JCPenney as part of the promotion for the 1999 Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. There were only 275 of these ever produced, designed by Don Post for Lucasfilm in 1999. Approximately 22 inches by 21 inches by 79 inches in totality. I am using the local pickup only function as an option so as not to allow the possibility of shipment through eBay. However, if you would like this item shipped, it would be at your own discretion and you would be fully responsible for setting up the shipment method through whomever you wish. I can meet up within reason for purchase of item as agreed upon prior purchase. Please let me know if you have any additional questions. And you would also have to be picking this up from Rhode Island.
Clearly, I have to drive to Rhode Island and
No,
get this
why would you
myself.
want that?
It has power. I don't know what for yet, but
Yeah.
something's wrong about it on a
Oh my
fundamental.
god, that picture! Oh my god!
Why did you just?
Please look up in the
Whoa.
Discord.
I've
Oh,
been
God.
jump scared!
Ew! What happened to
I
him?
don't like it.
Ew.
Why does he look like that?
I'm sticking
What are
with
his
mine.
okay? I would like to notice, by the way, that Gogurt was staring at God. Anakin is not. His eyes face forward like a predator animal.
Okay, wait. So what did Ollie say and what did Noah say?
I said
Ollie
I said
said-
10,000 and Noah said 12.
What did Claudia guess yet?
I'm changing. I said 1,000, but now I'm gonna say 20,000.
That's a big jump.
That's so much. And it's from 1999, and there's only 200 of these little fuckers around. I'm gonna highball this. I'm gonna super highball this because I don't know. It also has its original like tags, right? From JCPenney.
Would you like to know what it originally retailed at?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
the original
Okay.
retail.
And I'll allow you to change your answers if that's gonna do that for you. Let me see. Oh my god, it's in one of these fucking pictures. There's like 18 pictures of this little fucker. Holy shit. Okay, originally for $1,500.
Okay.
That's a lot.
So it's gonna probably be more than that. I'm willing to bet.
Okay, wait.
Sticking with my answer, 20,000.
1,500, right?
$1,500.
1,500.
1,500.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll stay where I'm at.
I'm gonna drop my answer just because everyone else is Noah is at 12,000, right? I'm the lowest currently. I'm gonna drop my answer to $100 just so if it's lower than 12,000, I win. I think
I'm gonna drop my answer to 8,000 because
Okay,
I'm a
well
bitch.
you can choke, and I think you're a bitch for that.
Claudia, you're staying at whatever the hell you said, like 20?
20,000.
Okay, well now I want
I-
to go back up to 10,000.
I think I'm gonna go very high. Although I might regret this because like a lot of people do also hate the Phantom Menace and Child Anakin. Even though actually I think Child Anakin is actually my favorite Anakin. But I'm gonna guess 50,000.
Okay, what is everyone's final score? Jess is 50,000. Claudia,
20,000.
20,000. Noah, you said 8,000.
What are you changing yours to?
No, I'm not telling you. You
I'm just
stinky bitch.
I have accepted that
Okay,
I suck
I'll
at this
keep
game,
mine.
so
Fuck it, I'll stick to my guns and I'll keep mine at 12.
Okay, mine's $100. How much is it?
$2,199.99. We could
I
crowdfund this.
We could
Why would
crowdfund
we?
Okay,
this.
no, because here's the thing.
Aw.
Here's what you have to realize. For world peace to be achieved, we have to find all 295 of them and annihilate them.
275 to be fair.
Okay, spoilers.
We need to
for-
get them
what's
and
the
the
book
cho-
where
and the-
Wreath is from originally.
Into the dark.
Spoilers for Into the Dark. These are those statues. Those
These are
fucked
all
up statues on the
pictures
space
in your
station.
head.
They're
No,
just Anakin.
If we gather those Anakins, then we'll release the Drengir on Rhode Island.
No,
guys,
it's
we
keeping them together. It's the fact that we can solve COVID-19 if we get them all together. That is the problem. They've been
can't with
separated.
that.
Wait, guys, if we get those and all of the challenge points, we'd be unstoppable.
We're like Thanos. I am inevitable.
Thank you so much for playing. I would just like to tease that the next time we do this segment, I have two very good things that I'm very excited. I decided to keep them keep them in the wings just in case. But if you're a fan of the price bust, buckle the fuck up.
Just so you guys know, final score. Jess, unfortunately, you've gotten 0, so you're being eliminated from
I
the podcast.
accepted that. I don't have a concept of money, and I just spend recklessly. So,
then Noah and Claudia are tied, both with 1, and then I win with 3. Ho's mad.
Now it's time for our favorite segment, which is Name That Ship, where we bring a fan fiction to the podcast that is interesting, to say the least, and we try to guess who is the main ship involved. This is all in good fun. Please don't go harass the authors or anything. We do this out of love and for celebration of the medium of fan fiction. So take that with a grain of salt. I'm starting today with one. It's a little on theme. So that's why I picked it. I believe someone said this to me. I did not write it down, who sent it to me, so I'm so sorry if you are the person. This is rating mature. So starting out strong. And the relationships are character A, character B. Actually, there's 2 relationships. And I want you to guess both. Because they're both a little wild. Character A, character B, and character C, character D. And there's character A, character B, character C, character D, Paz Vizsla, and Djarin are in this fic.
That's fun.
Additional tags. Mandalorian culture. Alternate universe canon divergence. Mandalorian language. Falling in love. Injury recovery. Memory loss. This one will give it away, so I'm not going to say that on this one. These are 3 that would give it away. Keldabe Kiss, Keldabe City, Post Order 66, Mandalorian Character B, Young Djarin, and Something as a Love Language. Again, I can't put it because that would spoil it.
Are these characters, character B is a Mandalorian, is this an AU in which they are a Mandalorian, or are they already a Mandalorian canonically?
This is an AU where they are a Mandalorian. I have to see, or that they, I believe, become Mandalorian in some way.
Is this a character from Legends?
No, these are all canon characters.
Okay.
And
Is
actually,
one of them Boba?
No. Then these are all, I will say, they're all canon characters and all quite well known.
Okay. Is one of them Jango?
No.
Luke Skywalker.
No.
Are any of them from the Clone Wars?
Yes.
Is one of them
3 of them are from the Clone Wars. And character A is, I guess, would have been alive, but was not introduced.
Okay. Is one of them Bo-Katan Kryze?
No.
Okay.
Is one of them a clone?
Yes.
Is it Rex?
Yes. That is character
Okay.
D.
Oh.
Okay. Is C and D is this
Is it Rex slash is it Rex slash Satine?
No.
Damn it. Okay.
So
I've seen that one before.
The first ship is 2 women and the second ship is 2 men.
Oh.
Okay.
So,
Is Rex,
Rex
with
with a
another
man.
Mandalorian?
No. Well, I guess at one point you could say.
Is it Maul?
Shit, I gave it away!
Rex what?
Not Raw.
Rex Maul?
Raw?
Max!
I hate to break it to you guys, but some people sent me this whole tag. It's apparently a popular rare pair. I just brought this one. But that is character C and character D is Rex and Maul.
Oh my god.
Ahsoka.
That is character B.
Is it? It's not Bo-Katan. Is
Is
it?
this character a Mandalorian as well, or
Yes.
This character is a Mandalorian. Is it?
Oscar Reeves?
No.
Okay.
Rook cast.
No.
Why did I just think Baru? What is wrong with me? I'm always thinking
Baru Lars.
But that was back when she was Baru White's son, okay? I'm
wait,
gatekeeping.
wait. Is character A, they are canonically a Mandalorian, or they
Yes.
were remade into one for this fic?
No, they are canonically. It is Ahsoka.
It's not Bo-Katan?
The tag that I couldn't read before was Mandalorian Ahsoka Tano. So
Is it the armorer?
It is.
Wig.
So it's the armor slash Ahsoka and Rex slash Maul.
Yeah, it is.
One of these things is a lot worse than the other.
to give you so the other tags were metallurgy, Mandalorian armor, Beskar, metalworking as a love language, Mandalorian Ahsoka Tano, and its summary: if absolute zero was the point at which there was no more energy left to degrade oneself, then it must have felt something like this. Betrayed by her former master, Ahsoka finds herself in the care of a secretive covert of Mandalorians while she recovers from her injuries. With Captain Rex by her side, the only friend she has left, Ahsoka must find a way to survive everything the rise of the Empire has taken from her. Yeah, armor, you know what? Armor X Ahsoka, you know what? You do you. I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but you do you. It is, Maul and Rex was the reason that I did bring it to the table, and then mixing it with that. There are so many other Maul and Rex fics. I don't know what Darth Maul is doing here. I don't know how. I literally don't know. So
okay, can I need to just unpack something verbally real quick, because Noah said Rawl, and I did immediately think the first thing that came to mind was Rand Paul. I don't know what that means.
Do you guys remember when Rand Paul's neighbor beat the shit out of him? And he said that he punched him and he was like, I flew 10 feet.
Okay, sorry for the American politics talk, but yeah, Senator Rand Paul.
Do you guys think that Rand Paul and Darth Maul have explored each other's bodies?
Yes. Anyways,
I think they should if they haven't.
I want to hear Mel's fic.
Thank you for bringing that, Claudia. That was fun.
It was just funky, fresh.
I will say the fic that I am bringing to the table is not. I don't think it's a cursed ship at all. Just the tags did send me into another world, because I've had this waiting in the wings for a bit, and I revisited it and I was like, oh shit. So it's kind of Yasin's Light, and also it is still updating. Once again, please don't, like, if you're gonna seek out this fic, don't be weird about it and be like, he Roop helps pod race, whatever. Anyways, this fic is called Behind the Eight Ball. There are 2 ships for you to guess in this. They're relatively easy to guess, so there's character A, character B, and then the second ship is character C, character D, and character F. Character E, not character F. I don't know the order of the alphabet. Anyways, point is, tags are flappers. We're getting gayer than ever before. Character A/character B has me by the brainstem, and now I'm inflicting it onto you. Alternate universe 1920s. Alternate universe Prohibition era. Shameless smut. Gunshot wounds. Non-graphic violence. Hurt, comfort.
Jay Gatsby / Nick Carraway.
Also,
Okay.
The way I know, I don't remember who the ship is, but I know for a fact that I have seen this.
So are these
Is Jay Gatsby a character, yes or no?
No.
Women?
Jay Gatsby is not a character in this. There are 2 ships, one of which is a sapphic relationship, and then the other one is a polycule with 3 men.
Is Fennec Shand here?
Fennec Shand is here.
Fennec and Pelimato?
No.
Wait, okay, I think I just remembered what it is, but I don't know if I should say it because I don't know if I'm right.
Is this character from the same era and media as Fennec, or no?
From the same era, yes. I wouldn't say the same media.
Hera Syndulla?
No.
Is it Fennec and Leia?
Yes, it is.
I was literally just gonna say that.
This is the one I've seen. I won't say the other shit, but because I know what it is.
Okay, so if it's Fennec and Leia, are the other 3 male characters all from that same era as the 2 of them?
Yeah.
Is one of them Luke Skywalker?
Yes and yes.
Is it Din?
Yes.
Boba Din, Luke, and Leia Fennec?
In the 20s?
Prohibition AU?
Yes.
So this is just The Great Gatsby.
Oh, period. Yeah.
Which one is Gatsby, quickly?
Din?
Boba? Oh, well, anyways.
No, because Boba's the angry one. So unfortunately, he does have to be, what's his name? Tom.
Tom?
Why would you
There's
talk
not
about
a lot
my
of men
man
in
like
this
that?
book.
Okay, can I just read the summary for y'all?
I would love you to.
The first time that Fennec Shand sees Leia Skywalker, she's shimmying on the dance floor with her troublesome brother, their skirts twirling in tandem, glass beads twinkling under Djarin's chandeliers. So I guess Din is the Gatsby.
Djarin is Jay Gatsby!
Actually, you know what? I'm okay with that.
It's kind of a serve.
Hey, you
I
didn't
This
mention.
is very
I'm
much
like,
a serve.
Grogu.
I just pulled this up. You did not mention the other characters in this.
No, I didn't. Because it would have given it away.
The
Let
other
me just no. Let me read it. Let me read it. Leia Organa, Fennec Shand, Boba Fett, Din Djarin, Luke Skywalker, Migs Mayfield, Dengar, Toro Calican.
Never mind. Toro Calican is here. We have our Tom.
Where's
We
Valance?
officially have our Tom.
Valance can't even make it into this fic. Damn.
Thank you so much for joining us this week for RuPaul's Pod Race. Episodes usually drop on Sundays. For updates, Star Wars news, and more curse shit, follow us on social media at RuPaul's Pod Race on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you really love the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Spotify, or Overcast. It means a lot to us. May the Force be with you, and don't kriff it up.
Waka
Waka
waka.
waka.
Waka waka.